Alright, so it's 11:15. I just wrapped up the pressure regulator install. So I ended up using a Holley 12-803 that I ordered just from O'Reilly's. I'm just making sure it doesn't leak. I did have a fuel leak. This flared fitting, but I think I fixed it. So what I did is I bent up two lines that go in between. So this line comes out of the pump, goes around underneath right there, and it goes back here into a pipe 90 inverted flare 90. So it's 3/8 inverted flare to 3/8 male pipe, because the back of the regulator is the inlet. And then the pressure comes out here to a 3/8 male pipe to 3/8 J inverted flare. When I say 3/8 inverted flare, that's not the thread, it's just a -6. It's a 3/8 tube, but it's a 3/8, I believe, 18 pipe. And it's a 5/8 18 thread on the tube nut. So if you're buying the tube nuts by thread, it's a 5/8 by 18 thread inverted flare tube nut. And then that runs up under the vacuum lines like the original from the factory, threads into the filter on the carburetor. This is preset. These come preset, I believe, at 7 psi from the factory, which is perfect. You can turn it down to 6 if you want, but the car seems to be running really well at 7, the preset. I haven't even looked at the pressure. I just trusted. I read somewhere that these are preset at 7, so I just like, we'll run it. If it floods, it floods. We'll change it. If it seems to run rich, we'll change it as well. But I'm pretty happy. I need to finish it. I'm going to make a bracket that bolts onto this bracket and then to that bolt hole on the block right there. So we'll have one bolt hole and then it'll come up. I'm thinking we'll just have it bolt on in 2 spots. I'll have machine screws. I'll put machine screws in this way, and then we'll put the nuts on this side of the bracket. So the screws will come in from this side and this way. That way I don't have to take this bracket off because it's kind of a nuisance. The other thing I did is I bought 2 different colored tube nuts, because that way you know when you're hooking these up now, because you could get them backwards, or I could, especially in the dark. But the silver ones, the silver end goes to, well, I should say the brass ends go to the regulator. You see a brass tube nut, a brass tube nut. The silver ends go to the carburetor and fuel pump. So you see the silver nut and the silver nut. And this is just 3/8 steel line you can get from the auto parts store. It's a very thin wall. I don't know what it is. It's probably like 35 wall or something pretty thin like that. I didn't measure it, but it needs to be double flared. So you need to double flare it when you do it. And turned out pretty well. I also had it loop around so that you can adjust. This is the adjustment nut. So you lock nut, you adjust the regulator there. And I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. I'm happy with it. It's not perfect. There's a little, I put this bend in the wrong direction. So you can see there's a little tiny mark there. And the nature of my tube bender that I have scuffs them. And this is not my first time bending tubes. I used to work at a hydraulic shop and do this stuff all by hand for old International Harvester tractors, and old Chalmers used to make hydraulic lines, PTO lines, power steering lines, stuff like that for old Farmalls, old Case IH tractors, and old Chalmers, and some John Deeres, and some Whites, and some Olivers, and a little mix of everything, and also plenty of other stuff, forklifts, combines, and you name it, I made it. But we primarily made IH parts because we had made jigs off of original IH tubes. But these were all done by hand, no exact measurements, just sort of eyeballed. Once I actually started making the tubing, it took me a couple hours to get it bent up and looking nice. I made a first draft of each tube, got it close, got my ends where they needed to be. And then I went through and I made my final pieces, these, where my bends are confident and smooth, because the other ones had tweaking and moving the bends back and forth on the line just to get them close, and these still took a little bit of tweaking. They weren't perfect right out of the box by no means, and my flares could be better. I have my cheap flaring tool, unfortunately, and it does okay. I might remake these in the future, especially now that I have a nice exact pair. I could really really get it nailed down. I'm gonna have to make a pair of these for my 350 and the Cutlass as well, just because I know for a fact that the fuel pump's gonna have issues there as well. I'll also have to make a pair of these for my 1966 Delta 88, which uses a slightly different fuel pump. I know it's got a good fuel pump on it now, so I can run it, but it uses a different end. It uses like a bubble flare style end, but I might switch to this pump, this style pump, just so I can run these lines, just make my life easier. I believe the pumps internally are the same because it's just a big block car, so, or not technically a big block, but it's 425 car, so it should be the same, pretty close at least. And that's not going to be a perfectly original car, so that should be good enough where I could use one of these pumps I have on the shelf and bend up a set of these lines again. And then my other buddy has a 66 Delta, so basically I think we're gonna be set. And then my 59 that I just picked up, and my 47 both have rebuildable pumps. My wife's 62 has a crimp style pump, so we might have to do something like this on her car, but we'll see. I know her fuel pump currently works, so we're just gonna run it. But yeah, this is the best fix I can think of for still running a mechanical pump, and I think it's the best looking. I think it's not original. It adds a little mechanical flair to the engine bay for sure, and it looks nice enough that I think it's acceptable. But yeah, getting that bracket made, I might not do that this year. This car is getting pretty much done for the year. I'm going to drive it for another week or two, and then we're going to put her away for the season. But I think that'll work. But I should be able to drive to work tomorrow. If I smell any fuel smell, I'll know, and then I can take care of it. I'll bring my wrenches with me along the road just in case the fuel smell gets pretty bad. I'll be able to tighten it up. I'm going to tighten up this tube nut a little more. I don't quite trust it. This is the only one that was leaking. The others were great. And I got good clearance from the block, from the intake manifold, goes under everything like it should. You can move it and it doesn't hit, but I don't like how much that regulator moves. I'd like a hard mount because this is going to vibrate and it could potentially crack the flares. If this is a long term, if you run it long term like this could potentially put stress on those inverted flares and crack them. So it's really important that I make a bracket for it. But I'm happy with how it turned out. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the night. Call it good. We'll have another success story with keeping the Vista Cruiser on the road.